Thank you so much, Ms. Wells. And it is indeed 1 o'clock. I will call the Senate Judiciary to order. Today is March 2nd, and I would like to start with the roll, if you would please, esteemed Secretary.
Chair Scheibel.
Here.
Vice Chair Cannizzaro.
Here.
Senator Orenshaw.
Here.
Senator Harris.
Here.
Senator Settlemyre.
Here.
Senator Hansen.
Here.
Senator Pickard.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Guinan, if you could put on the record any staff members who are present.
Thanks, Chair Scheibel. This is Patrick Guinan, for the record, Committee Policy Analyst. I am present today. Our legal counsel, Mr. Anthony, will not be joining us today. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I don't think we really have any housekeeping to do today. Rules are the same as always. We encourage people to submit written testimony if they would like, and also to participate by phone. You have to click on the participate button on Nellis. Give us your name and phone number so that you're registered with broadcast services. We have one bill to hear today. It is being presented by a member of our committee, the inimitable Senator James Settlemyre, and that will be SB 94. If you are ready, Senator Settlemyre, then please go ahead. I will open the hearing.
Thank you, Chair. Again, James Settlemyre for the record, Senate District 17. First, I need to apologize to the entire committee, as this bill, I have found out over the last 24 hours, magically has become less soup than I had hoped. And in that respect, I want to apologize for that. This bill started out as an offshoot of a bill from two bills from last session. The first one this committee passed out was Senate Bill 221, finally solving the issue that if land is cultivated, it is pretty much assumed to be private property. And therefore, people should not be hunting and fishing on people's cultivated lands without asking permission. So I'm very grateful for that. Off of that, one of my colleagues, Senator Hansen and myself, he had an issue which I agreed with. People also should not be locking off property that is public to individuals. And unfortunately, we had some bad actors out there that were taking public roads and putting locks on them, on the gates that are on those roads. However, as an unintended consequence of that, if an individual actually reads the text from last session of Senate Bill 316, the actual reading of it states that it would be a nuisance for any person to fence or otherwise enclose a road. That would mean that, and unfortunately some DAs are saying that the plain reading of this language means that you no longer have a right to have a gate on these roads that are in the middle of nowhere. That, of course, creates another problem. And if you look on XMAP or anything of that nature, you'll see parcels that are in this particular picture I'm trying to show on the screen, all around in the green is owned by the Forest Service. But this person has a private lot in the direct middle of Forest Service property. Now this would mean that this person doesn't have a right to fence off their property per se, or you could fence the property, you just can't have a gate when you have a road that goes through it. This would be very problematic. I do not believe that that was the body's intent when we passed Senate Bill 316 last time. However, the DAs are saying it is, and that comes from DA in Douglas County, Sam Taylor. Humboldt County DA was saying the same thing. Since then, this bill coming out, Senate Bill 94, some of the language that was proposed was to clear that up, that a person did have a right to have a gate, but then individuals indicated, well, you clearly need to mark that it's a public road, because also we had situations where individuals had a gate and they'd say private property, but it's a public road. And so people were coming up to the gate and saying, well, okay, I don't have the right to be here. So then they turn around. That's wrong. That person was using the terminology on a sign to kind of scare people away. So we put language in, again, working with Sam Taylor from Douglas County, the DA, trying to figure out how to alleviate these problems. That unfortunately has created many issues within the Cattlemen's Association and the Farm Bureau, because the signage could be an incredible increase in cost, and also who then upkeeps the sign. Now, myself, when we had rangeland in California, we actually just took out a router and made the sign, and then I got the privilege of having to paint it and upkeep it every year. But if start to get in arguments about signs. NACO had many concerns. They were worried that it creates a pretty burdensome problem for the counties to jump forward and make the determination. At this point in time, what seems to be the most logical, and again, I'm continuing to meet with John Pirro. He's very concerned with Section 5, wants it to go away. Alex Ortiz, the Cattlemen Association and the Farm Bureau representatives were meeting. We're trying to find a solution. I will loop in the committee chair when something comes a little bit more soup in that respect, but it seems more than likely it may be easier. Some people wanted to go with language such as this only affects roads that have quieted title through a civil action. Well, then certain DAs are saying, no, there's too many of those or there's not enough of those. So again, it's not soup. What may be the most logical thing to do, which I'm running by these individuals even as we speak, is going back to Senator Hansen's bill and saying that instead of saying by forced orientation or by fencing, that we clearly state within the existing law that a person does have a right to have a gate. They just don't have a right to put a lock on it if it's a public road. And that may be the easier solution to, again, accomplish what we want, which is, again, individuals that have fences around their property kind of really need to have a gate. Otherwise, the fence doesn't have a lot of use. And with that, Madam Chair, I'll gladly stand for questions. I apologize to you, Chair, for not having this more consistent, but it is always amazing how often things come up once it gets scheduled for a hearing. That tends to sometimes flush out some issues and problems. But I will assure you, Chair, I will make sure to work on it and have it more suit before I bring it back to you for any potential work session that you may or may not allow to happen.
All right. Well, thank you, Senator Settlemyre. We've all been in your shoes trying to pass legislation, and then when the hearing comes around, sometimes we learn new things. So I am going to open it up for questions from the members of our committee. Do any of you have questions for Senator Settlemyre? I don't see any questions. Oh, Senator Hansen, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Actually, unfortunately, our legal counsel isn't here today. That's really who I have these questions for. So we may have to wait on some of this because there are a couple of things in the law that I think will help address the concerns that were brought up here. One is, I know there was a statute in law, maybe Patrick can look it up. Right now, if you come to a gate, you have to leave the gate in the same position that you find it. It's open, you leave it open. If it's closed, it's closed. So I think there's an implication in law already that allows gates on roads that could be public easements, but that's something I'd like to get addressed. The other concern is I haven't, the Humboldt County DA, for example, that's in my district. I haven't had a chance to talk to any of these guys, and I did send out feelers about this. So I'm hoping that some of the DAs will help testify today about that. My concern with the bill from last session is the right of the public to access the public domain. And what I've seen consistently over the years in Nevada is slowly but surely, private landowners are locking these gates that are on roads that are essentially either RS 2477 easements or prescriptive easements that have been used for a long time. So I think that this is already addressed in law, but certainly I share with Senator Settlemyre. My concern is to make sure that these easements that the public uses to access public land for multiple use purposes remain open. So I'm certainly willing to work with Senator Settlemyre on any of these things, but I do think we have some issues here that may not really be issues if we had some legal counsel that could kind of address it. But anyway, Patrick, I don't know if you and Chairman Shiloh, if you want to jump in too on that.
I do, Senator, and I appreciate your interest in this issue, and it does sound like Senator Settlemyre is willing to work on this issue. As all of you know, our fantastic committee counsel, Nick Anthony, is busy drafting all of the bills that we want to introduce and run this year. So he has been excused to do that today, and we will certainly follow up with him. I will ask him your questions specifically, and also it sounds like there may be changes coming anyway, and we'll be sure to run all of those by Mr. Anthony. We'll provide the answers back to the whole committee at the time of the work session, if there is a work session scheduled for this this bill. And Senator Settlemyre, would you like to weigh in as well?
I'm going to elaborate, Chair, that just doing a quick Google search, NRS 207.220 describes the penalties associated with not closing a gate. So I did find that, Mr. Hansen, as we were talking just now online. So I will continue to work with Mr. Hansen on that particular issue. But if I could redirect almost to Mr. Hansen, I think, Mr. Hansen, you'd agree on the record that the intent of your bill was never to create a situation where someone didn't have a right to have a gate on their private property. It was just a situation where they don't have the right to lock people out of the utilization of that road if it's a public road.
Madam Chair, may I respond?
Not right now. I'm going to ask that members of the committee can ask questions of the sponsors of the bill. If the sponsors want to clarify with members of the committee offline, you're welcome to do that. Is there anybody else with a question? I'm not seeing any other questions. So we will go ahead and move to testimony in support of SB 94.
Thank you, Chair Schimel. To testify in support on SB 94, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Once again, to testify in support on SB 94, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. And Chair, at this time, there are no callers to give support testimony.
Okay, thank you. We will move to testimony in opposition of SB 94.
Thank you, Chair. To testify in opposition on SB 94, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Once again, to testify in opposition on SB 94, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Caller with the last 3 digits, 611, please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the Senate Judiciary Committee. This is John Piro, Johnpiro, from the Clark County Public Defender's Office. I'd like to thank Senator Settlemyer for hearing our concerns and is going to put us in a working group on this bill. Our objection is to one small part of the bill. It's Section 1, subsection 5, subsection A5, which deals with the word public way. We feel that this language is very broad as it is concerning to nuisance and may have some unintended consequences. I've watched for the last now 3 sessions where Senator Settlemyer has tried to solve these issues and all of the crazy things that come up in this bill, and I am grateful for all of his efforts and putting us in this conversation. I would just let Senator Settlemyer know that ACLU also would like to be added to the conversation as well, and we thank you for your time. That concludes our testimony.
Thank you, caller. Caller with the last 3 digits, 222. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Hello, thank you. My name is Russell Coleman. That is spelled Kuhlman. My comment is regarding Section 2. I also feel that this wording is fairly broad and am concerned that this would mean if I was to legally access a public road and cause rut marks or become involved in an accident and slide off the road, damaging the nearby road property, I could be held accountable and sued by that property owner. I feel that that wording should be more towards the deliberate damage of private property instead of the blanket language that it currently is. Thank you. That is the end of my testimony.
Thank you, caller. Caller with the last 3 digits, 280. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin now.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. My name is Colby Prout. I'm the Natural Resources Manager at the Nevada Association of Counties. Colby Prout, Colby Prout. We would like to thank the sponsor for taking the time to discuss SB 94 with us and hope to continue to work with him on the issue going forward. We do oppose SB 94 as written. Based on the discussion today, we would like to take the time just to highlight and articulate our concerns, particularly with Section 6. First, Section 6 does not describe with specificity the process or requirements for making determinations as to whether a particular landowner can restrict access, and would put counties in a difficult position of making such a determination when there is no criteria for doing so. Second, also in regards to Section 6, the status or title of many roads or right-of-ways throughout the state are unknown, especially those roads on public lands. However, if a county were to restrict access to that road under an application made under this section, they may actually be undermining their own right of access or title to that public way, or even contravening the state's rights or ownership over the public way. And this could create a long-term controversies between property owners and counties and even federal agencies at expense to all parties. And it most importantly, detrimentally impact otherwise existing rights. We do have other concerns with the section of the bill, including the bill's efforts to give private landowners a cause of action against one who damages their property while using a public way. This section does not add a right that doesn't already exist under state law. Instead, adding this language may only confuse the parties involved or courts going forward as to the proper remedies. And the same confusion would result from the section pertaining to signage, and again put the onus on counties to patrol signage, fencing, and disputes on distant and remote lands and roads, incurring considerable cost. With that, NACO looks forward to continuing to provide input where invited and help clarify issues that SB 94 as written may present. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, caller. Caller using the user 1 title, please press *6 now to unmute yourself. Then slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin.
Good afternoon, Chair Scheibel and members of the Senate Judiciary Committee. My name is Alex Ortiz, ALEX-ORTIZ, representing Clark County today. Clark County opposes Senate Bill 94 as written. First, I'd like to say that I want to thank the sponsor, Senator Settlemyre, for taking time to discuss some of our concerns yesterday. Some of the concerns we have relate to, in particular, Section 1 as written. It appears that it allows for the posting of no trespassing signs or other signs on any highway or road, specifically including those where the governmental body has an easement. In Clark County, there are many streets and roads where the governmental entity has an easement interest and a private property owner owns the underlying fee interest. Conceivably, these signs could be placed all over the county, including U.S. highways and state highways. These two signs may be confusing to the public who uses the roads, and also these signs would not necessarily change the status of the road either. In Section 2, where it gives the private property owner upon which a highway or road is located a right of action if the user of a highway or road causes damage or injury, this is very broad, and it only pertains to the highway or road, or does it pertain only to the highway or road or private property that is not encumbered by the highway or road. If it is the former, that could be problematic if the governmental entity is the owner or maintainer of the highway or road. Also, what roads are intended to be defined as public way in Section 1, subsection 10E. And lastly, similar to NACO's concerns with Section 6, where it adds a new section to NRS 405, where it allows the owner of a private property upon which a public road is located to erect and maintain a fence over the road if the governmental entity receives a request and finds it will not be inconveniencing the public, the traveling public, subject to conditions. Such a gate must be kept unlocked, and private for public access. Even though the gate would be accessible, there is an argument it would inhibit the public. Roadway access is taken seriously as demonstrated in NRS 405.195, which provides a fairly stringent process for closing a road. This bill would potentially be burdensome for the public body with respect to processing requests for gates and weighing whether or not the factors exist in support of it. Further, it's unclear how the government body makes a determination for the gate. Again, we want to thank the sponsor, Senator Settlemyre, for speaking with us yesterday, and looking forward to working with him on this bill. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, caller. Caller with the last 3 digits, 318. Please slowly state and spell your name for the record. You will have 2 minutes and may begin now.
Good afternoon, Chair Scheibel and members of the Senate Judiciary Committee. This is Kendra Birchie, KendraBertschy with the Washoe County Public Defender's Office. I want to thank Senator Settlemyre for speaking with Mr. Pierre about our concerns, and we are looking forward to working with him to ensure that the unintended consequences that we believe may come from this legislation are taken care of. So we really appreciate him speaking with us and are looking forward to working with him. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. And with that, Chair Scheibel, there are no more callers to give opposition testimony at this time.
All right, thank you so much. We will close opposition testimony. We will move to testimony in the neutral position.
Thank you, Chair Scheibel. To testify in neutral on SB 94, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Once again, to testify in neutral on SB 94, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Chair, at this time, there are no callers to give neutral testimony.
All right, then that concludes our hearing on SB 94. We will look forward to hearing from you again, Senator Settlemyre, when there is something to hear about this bill. And we appreciate your presentation. I will now conclude or close the hearing on SB 94, move to the last item on our agenda today, which is public comment. Do we have anybody here for public comment today?
Thank you, Chair. To give public comment, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. Once again, if you'd like to give public comment this afternoon, please press *9 now to take your place in the queue. And Chair, the phone lines are open and working. However, there are no callers at this time.
All right, then this concludes our meeting. We will be meeting again tomorrow, same time, same place, 1 p.m., wherever your computer is, to hear 2 different bills. And with that, we are adjourned.